Hey, and welcome to another video. I was looking at cars the other day and I was like, did make and model really matter? But then I thought that was a really stupid question, because of course it does. Because, well, let's go to the Toyota 86. With this car, you only get different year models. They all have the same engine basically in them. But most of the time, it's different suspension, different interior, and different like buttons and other accessories on top. But that's where the question came in. If you got the base model of this car, are you really driving the best model of this car? Of course not. Bought what you could afford. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You wanted the car, it looks good, but you couldn't afford the top tier model because, well, it's like 45 grand more than base model. But I think that's where most people get confused. It's why would I buy the base model when I can buy the best version of this car? And that's where modifications come in the aftermarket. Because let's face it, you bought a Toyota 86 either because you want to turn it into a race car or because you love the look of it and you want to do something to it later on in life. But 9 times out of 10, you probably won't. But out of that time, there is someone that will do it. But the sad reality is, just because you've modified the car doesn't mean it's going to be more value to the car. It's all to do with, does someone have the same taste that you do? Does someone want to do the mods that you do and they don't want to spend the same money that you had to? But that's the beauty of a base model car. It starts as a shell and you work your way up to being the better car or the best car it can be. That's why it is actually really important what base model or model you go for in your car. Because if you are going to modify a car, then you're going to make sure that you have the right things to begin with. Because let's face it, if you are going to modify a car, then, well, you want to make sure that you buy a base model, because if you're going to take everything out of it anyway, then you're better off getting the cheaper option. But that's where things get interesting, because not all car models are built the same. Because as much as I do love manufacturers for having different base models, it's more annoying when it comes to engine specifications. Well, the best example of this is the Ford Mustang. They have so many different variants of this car, and I can't lie, that's actually an amazing thing to have. You might be thinking, I was just bitching about that, but no, because it gives you so many options for the same car, but different power and different specs. But it also lets them sell these cars at amazing prices that we can actually afford, because we don't need to buy this $200,000 model car, because this is a car that the manufacturer has made up and gone, hey, you guys want something that's more spectacular and more fun, but you don't want to have to do it yourself. Well, here's a new model of that car. And with that comes the price tag, of course, but it also keeps that car's excitement alive. But it also gives the people that bought the base model to strive for something, because let's face it, these models give people inspiration to either try and afford the next model or to build it. Because let's face it, every time you see a Mustang, you go, well, my Camaro is faster. Or they give you the inspiration to be like, well, it's faster than a Mustang. These cars are really a good middle ground for every car enthusiast out there. Because every Honda Civic owner wants to beat a Mustang. And everyone that drives a Mustang wants to be faster than a supercar. Then everyone that owns a supercar just wants to be the fastest on the road. Because when you're doing a modification to a car, model does matter. But what also matters is, what are you chasing for? What are you trying to beat? What are you trying to get faster than? So that's where model really comes into play. Because let's face it, when you're working on cars, when you enjoy cars, you want to be faster than something else. So when you're doing a model check, it's always, what is this faster than? But Ford also does this amazing thing where they give you a 4-cylinder option. But I do really wish more manufacturers would do. And you might be asking, why would I want that? Well, because sometimes you just want the shell of the car. Because you might actually have plans to take out everything from the car and make it better. Or you don't care about being the fastest on the road. You just want a car that looks exactly like every other model, and only the real car enthusiast will be able to tell that it's a 4-cylinder. But also lets other people try and get into the same models as well. But it also brings out more competition for different cars as well in the same category. And let's face it, only like 2% of the people you'll ever meet will care that it's a 4-cylinder and not an 8. And those people that do care will be like, well, my friend's got this car and it's better than yours. And then you just turn around and go, well, your friend sounds like a cool guy, because you don't. And plus, does it really matter if you have a 4-cylinder instead of an 8? I feel like the new Nissan Z is really one of those cars that would benefit from having a 4-cylinder engine. Because let's face it, they're on a different level of price that no one really wants to pay for. They're a good looking car, but they're a little bit overpriced. I know they're trying to compete with the new Toyota Supra, but the thing is, even the Supra comes with a 4-cylinder variant. And the reason for that is simple. It's because they know people are going to take out the new engine and put something different in. Because let's face it, the new Supra doesn't have that much competition right now. Because if you buy the new Nissan or if you buy the new Supra, you're just going to be chasing after a Mustang, and you know it. Because they're the new paradox. That's the thing. It's you got to buy a car and you're competing with something else. But what are you competing with when you buy the new Z? Is it the Supra? Okay, cool. Well, the new Nissan comes out with 400 horsepower and the new Supra is only 380. So, well, technically it should be faster, right? Well, then the aftermarket comes in. Well, which one's faster now that there's more modifications in one than the other? What one's easier to work on? What one has a better aftermarket scene? What one can actually gain more boost per power per dollar? Okay, you now have the fastest Nissan Z on the road. What do you go after next? You now have the fastest road car. Now you're gonna go for a track car. And welcome to the vicious cycle of cars. Cars are super complex. Does it matter what make and model you get? Yes, it does. But it all depends what you want it to do. But at the end of the day, if you buy the base model of a car, just know you're not buying the best model of it, but you can always turn it in the best model that you want it to be. Because let's face it, every car that we've ever owned, we would have turned into something more of a monster if we could afford it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you built or bought your car. As long as you're driving it and enjoying it, it doesn't really matter what other people think. Because it doesn't matter if you buy the base model car, you can always turn it into something better. Or you can always buy it and then use it as a stepping stone car. So there's always lots of options that you can do. But at the end of the day, as long as you love the car and you enjoy the car, that's all that matters. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.